Good afternoon, sports fans. 4 p.m. on the East Coast, 1 on the West Coast. Welcome to another edition of And That's the Game on SFBN Rhode Island. Matt Gillis with you. Hope you all had a great and enjoyable weekend through what was the holiday of Thanksgiving, that you all enjoyed the food that you had on Thursday, and then maybe perhaps all the leftovers as well too. And what a very interesting weekend in sports, from the continuing cancellation of the Steelers-Ravens game, which went from Thursday night to Sunday afternoon to now maybe Tuesday night. We're still waiting to see how that all breaks down. The Patriots continuing to increase the sales of antacids in New England as they continue to give everyone stomach pains while they jockey their way through this season. The Patriots, of course, coming off of a 20-17 victory over Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, in which saw Nick Folk really be sort of the star of the game, and still more questions surrounding Cam Newton, whether or not this is just a 2020 pandemic. Everything is completely bizarre and we don't know how to handle this situation, and or Cam Newton is not the answer to solve the issue of New England no longer having Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, etc. there in Foxborough anymore. History in the SEC this weekend. Sarah Fuller kicking for Vanderbilt, who then saw their head coach immediately get fired after the game. Of course, they are 0-8 this season. But Sarah Fuller becoming the third female ever to play in a Division I college football game, and the first to play in one of the Power 5 conferences. Katie Nida played at University of Colorado and then transferred to the University of New Mexico. And then Alexa Cross playing for Kent State. But Sarah Fuller playing for Vanderbilt in the SEC against Missouri was something that was groundbreaking in its own right, because of the fact that she was the first to play in a Power 5 conference. And Sarah Fuller's story itself is amazing. This is a girl who has endured every possible heartbreak athletically that you can come up with. She has gone through foot injuries, ankle injuries, leg injuries. She was not the starting goalkeeper, despite being a senior, for the Vanderbilt women's soccer team. Came into action, got called in sort of, I guess, about like 3 or 4 games into the season, proceeds to take the team on a 7-2 run, notching 3 shutouts along the way, and taking a team that came into the SEC playoffs in a 8 seed, I think they were, and driving them through to winning the conference championship and beating top 10 teams like Texas A&M along the way. Sarah Fuller is one heck of an athlete and one heck of a young woman. And I don't want to get too much onto this because I don't want to spoil things for Play Like a Girl. Laura Crusoe and Gianna Cambria, the hosts of Play Like a Girl, each and every Monday night, will have Sarah Fuller on their Play Like a Girl show for an upcoming episode. Sarah Fuller, of course, wore the words "Play Like a Girl" on the back of her helmet during the game on Saturday. But the bigger story of the weekend continues to be the New England Revolution. And I know when people want to talk about big sports teams in Boston, we seem to always continuously talk about the Celtics, the Patriots, the Bruins, the Red Sox, and forget that there are 6 teams in Boston in Major League sports. There is the Boston Cannons, who play in Major League Lacrosse, who won the 2020 MLL championship. There is also the New England Revolution, who are owned by Robert Kraft and the Kraft Group, the same group that owns the New England Patriots, who have been playing since 1995 in the MLS. They are one of the original Major League Soccer teams in the United States. They have gone multiple times to the MLS Cup Championship, unfortunately never being able to win it. Now, I know in the past few years, the New England Revolution's seasons haven't been much to talk about. And they continually this year were even not much to talk about. It was an up and down, topsy-turvy season, the way that it normally is for the Revolution. They saltered their way into the playoffs. They finished 8th in the Eastern Conference. And going up against the Philadelphia Union, the number one team in the MLS, the number one team in the Eastern Conference, the Supporter Shield winners, the team that seemed to do the best this year. A team who beat the Revolution 4 times during the season, including a 2-0 victory just a couple of weeks ago. And yet the New England Revolution did what's traditional of the Revolution to do in the playoffs, which is to come in and knock off the Supporter Shield winner for the 3rd time in franchise history. What the Revs did then was to go and have to knock off another team, quote unquote, better than them. And Gustavo Bou and Carlos Gil again showed why they are 2 of the best players and probably 2 of the most underrated players in the MLS in 2020. Carlos Gil scoring a goal on a penalty kick in the 17th minute. And then Gustavo Bou, 2, one in the 25th, one in the 86th, and powering the New England Revolution to a 3-1 victory over Orlando City and on to the conference finals, which will pit them against another legacy team of the MLS, another original team in the Columbus Crew. But the bigger thing to talk about in this, again, is one, the fact that the New England Revolution won this game without leading a single statistical category other than shots on goal. They lost the shots 9-11. And Orlando City had double the amount of possession time and possession percentage than New England did. New England possessed the ball for barely 40% of this match. Barely 40% of the match. And yet won by 2 goals. Something is to be said about lower third strategy, and something is to be said about Revolution head coach Bruce Arena, who for all of his years in Major League Soccer still has been the master of the playoffs versus the regular season. But in Major League Soccer, unlike the rest of the other soccer leagues in the world, where you have the playoffs, you have the opportunity to do this. And so it is again. The New England Revolution win 3-1 over Orlando. They will head into the conference final, the semifinal of the MLS Cup tournament on December 6th. Time to be determined against the Columbus Crew. And that's the game for this final day of November 30th, 2020. I will see you all back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, we have a slew of shows on SFBN Rhode Island tonight, including, as I mentioned, Play Like a Girl every Monday nights with Laura Crusoe and Gianna Cambria, at 8 p.m. You're going to want to tune in and watch that show. See y'all tomorrow. Have a great night.